sitting in this building back here, and the yellow line is about where we walked this afternoon. So on the next slide, what we're looking at is kind of the canyon form of this area. And when you kind of pull the layers apart, you can really see that our site sits in this canyon that follows Union Avenue, and then eventually this goes into kind of the Chollas Creek open space that's just south of the community garden. And what's really interesting about this is showing that how big our site is, because all development along Union Ave takes advantage of how deep the parcels are that are constrained by the canyon. And the interesting point about this is everyone's seen and walked out there. There is a lot of space. There's 36 acres of land out there, and it's deep, and it allows for different types of uses and different mixes of uses because there's a depth that's necessary for like commercial, mixed use, apartments, residential. So that's kind of one of the first points there. The next slide, what you're looking at here is a block pattern, first and foremost. So all the gray is just a figure ground showing you the blocks, and the white are the streets. So this is University, and this is 54. And what you notice is that no streets come through or connect to our site except for Leah, the one street that we saw out on there. So what's telling you about that is this site is physically, from a physical form, the way we've designed the city, is disconnected from the neighborhoods around it. The yellow map is showing us what an actual half-a-mile distance is from the edge of the site. So sometimes you see maps with a simple circle that says this is a half a mile away. What this map is defining is if you were actually to walk someplace by a street, how far you could get. So even though this neighborhood is immediately adjacent to the site, to get there, you have to walk up and around here and up into the neighborhood. So it's just showing you kind of how far you go. So this outline, you're going to see carried through onto the next maps. Single-family residential, and as they get to darker yellow and orange is indicative of multifamily, either attached single-family housing, townhomes, that sort of thing, and the orange is showing into higher density multifamily apartment buildings. So what it's showing you is that our site is surrounded by all these residential homes to the south and to the west. And then north of our site, where you get into the purple and blues, is with your kind of community and civic uses. There's schools, churches, the community center is up there, and the hospital. The hospital is one of the major employers that we have seen in this area. It could serve as an employment center for future residents here as well. Another thing to note is currently the land use is showing you, this is, so your orange is University Plaza retail. This is currently an existing land use of commercial where we walk today, which is just where the Kmart and some of the other commercial uses are. And then up to the north, you start to see along El Cajon nearby. We discussed the lots and the block pattern that's being disconnected. But there's also physical barriers out there. So what we're just demonstrating here is that 54th and then University are these large imposing streets. University is a 4-lane moving street with a turn lane and 2 lanes of parking on each side, which takes you up to about 78, 80 feet of pavement to cross. To the north of the site, by this little jagged red line, and to the south of the site is just demonstrating that the slopes that we could see out there. So even if there was connections through to the neighborhoods, there would need to be some way to get up the slopes for people to walk. And to the west of the site, by the solid lines, that is demonstrating a physical or a man-made barrier. So immediately west of the site, as some of you may have noticed, there's a big wall or significant slopes there that clearly separates the neighborhood. And to the north, this is Cleanville Soul Park, and if you were to walk up 54th, you can see that it's blocked off by the existing commercial that backs to 54th and University. And up further north, it's fenced off. There's a couple of breaks in through property that you can access the park. And on the west side is the golf course, which is largely fenced off. So even though we have this great community park, so one of the ideas to keep in mind is that even though our site's so close, there still needs to be some work to happen on 54 to connect up there. And I point that out because our site, given that it's so big and significant, and it borders both 54 and University, that this is the one area that we can kind of make change to think about how those streets perform and the kind of connections the community wants to see for the future, and then how that could go forward as setting the example for the future. So this is the one that Mark was talking about. The green line just demonstrates how this site is actually connected to the neighborhoods. So the dark green lines on University and 54th are showing you that these are your major primary connections, and we all know from walking it what it actually means to be out there. And the connection down to Chollas Park requires this kind of long, convoluted path through the neighborhood. And the dotted lines are showing where possible connections in the future could be made. These are through property to the north. We could connect up to the high school. This is currently used as a dirt walking trail today, but there could be a connection to this neighborhood, to the high school. There could be a better connection to Chollas Park, which would make this a lot closer to the Chollas Triangle site for the community and for the families to use, that doesn't involve walking all the way up to the north side to enter the park. And then the green dash line is something we talk about in the field, is where a proposed trail system connects with the park system. And there's actually an opportunity when you start to look at the right-of-way of Chollas Parkway of bringing this connection all the way through our site up until the University Plaza up here.
Pointed out the regional context. Within 2 miles, you do have access to quite a few freeways, 8, 15, 94, and 805. University Avenue provides primary east-west access. 54th Street provides primary north-south access. Some of the topics that came up in today's walking audit were the Chollas Parkway, this intersection and this intersection being difficult and dangerous. When we were walking out there, we noticed that there were substandard sidewalks along 54 and no sidewalks along Chollas in this section of Leah. And so as the project moves on, we will want to consider the connections that exist today and how those can be strengthened, as well as how future land uses and redevelopment of the site will lead to new connections and how those can be created and or enhanced. For example, if there were a need to provide mid-block crossings, because the crosswalks now are all at the intersection. So there's crosswalks here, here, here. So if you need to cross anywhere between there, it's difficult. Next slide, please. Here we have the transit network. As I mentioned, we'll be looking at this as well. There are several existing transit routes, again, north-south on 54th Street, east-west on University. There are several proposals for improved transit service in the area. The first is the Mid-City BRT, or Bus Rapid Transit, which will be utilizing El Cajon and will be to the north. These are already underway and is expected to open in 2014. They're also planning or discussing additional rapid bus routes that would utilize University and 54. These buses would provide a higher frequency stops than the existing higher frequency.
Just real quick on the land uses.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not sure what's going to get built now, but I know there are some people who would like to have jobs in there too. So now, other than industrial, like offices, are they included mixed use, or is that, what kind of, would that be?
The size of our entire study area, just within a half a mile from the